Hello everyone, welcome to Practically's NEET Bio class, and today we're going to discuss about animal tissues. Okay, so in the previous classes we were discussing about a lot of things. We were discussing about plants and plant tissues. Before that we have discussed about the diversity in the living kingdom. So we have till now we have discussed a lot of things which you can definitely check it out in the channel. Okay, all of the videos are recorded and you can check it out. Okay. So today we're going to discuss about animal tissues. Now, when we talk about animal tissues are basically, it starts with the zoology portion of NEET. And from here, a lot of small questions might come. Okay, small portions, they just pick it out and then give the question. Okay, you don't have to think. All you have to do is know. Okay, you have to know the facts and it'll be easy for you to guess it and write it, okay, in the exam. And the another thing is we'll be doing part wise, small sections I have taken and I've put it in different classes. Today we'll be discussing about two of the tissues only. Next class again we'll discuss about two of the tissues. Okay, then we'll just start discussing about frogs, cockroach, this thing earthworm. We'll be discussing about the anatomy of those animals. Okay, so don't forget to check it out. And so let's start. Okay, so before I start, let me just tell you a little bit about us. We are from Practically, and we have a lot of classes. We have a experiential app, which it's kind of very interesting. There are lots of videos, lots of simulations. Okay, we have a very new Python class also going on. You should, it's very interesting, and kids like you should definitely check it out. Okay, you can also follow us on Facebook and on Instagram, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our video on the YouTube channel. Okay, so let's start. Now, tissues, in the previous classes have actually discussed what are tissues. Okay, and since you are 11th graders, 12th graders, okay, we know what tissues are. Okay, why we know what tissues are? Because we have read about the fundamental ideas. We have actually read. We have read about how cells, we are made up of cells. All living beings are made up of cells. Okay, how cells come together and they form tissues. Now, how tissues come together? They form organs. Okay, organs together, they form organ system, and then a body is formed. Okay, so tissue is one of the second level of organization. Okay, so what I mean to say is, so all the bodies we know, it starts with cell. Cell is the structural and functional unit of our life. Okay, so when a lot of cells, okay, might be different, it depends. Okay, a lot of cells come together, they form tissue. Okay, and our body is made up of different kinds of tissues. We have seen plant in the previous classes. We have seen about plants. Okay, plants having some kind of tissues, but not as diverse as animals. Okay, animals have various kinds of tissues doing various kinds of. Plants are producers. They produce their own food. They're not moving anywhere. There is a certain kind of living, it is a certain kind of living organism, but we animals are always moving, hunting for food. Okay, we are consumers, so we need much more, and we have proper nervous systems, we connect with each other, so we are much more diverse when it comes to tissues. Okay, so cells together, they form tissues. Now tissues together, okay, pardon my drawing, tissues together, they form organs. Okay, so this is where we are discussing the tissue. Okay, and just remember, animal tissues are diverse in nature. Okay, a lot of them, a lot of examples you can see here in the picture only. You can see how many types. This is just a part of the arm of a man. Okay, and you can see fibrous tissue, loose connective tissue, blood, bone, cartilage. These are also kind of tissues only. So you can understand how much diverse we are, or animals are. Okay, so before starting, I'll just tell you that we have a chat box here, and if you have any questions, any queries, anything, just put it on the chat box and I'll try to answer. Okay, so now tissue in physiology is a level of organization in multicellular organisms. Okay, so it is a level of organization. As I said, first level of organization is cell. The second level of organization is tissue. Cell, tissue, organ, system, body. Okay, so a group of cells similar in form, structure and embryonic origin, okay, which coordinate to perform a function is called simple tissue. As I said, the cells can be different also, cells can be same also. So when it is like all the cells are same, okay, structurally, functionally, embryonic originally, okay, so they are simple tissue. But when it differs, when they are different in structure and function, mostly structure, when it differs, it becomes a compound tissue. Okay, and various tissues combine in orderly manner to form a larger unit called organs. Just now we discussed. Okay, so tissue becomes an organ. Okay, and together organs, they work as an organ system. And when we see tissues, okay, we have ways where we see tissues. Okay, so blood tests. Okay, blood is a form of tissue. Now we do go for blood tests and all. Okay, that kind of study, microscopic study, is called a histology. Okay, you might have heard this word, histology. That study, okay, where we study tissues, it's called histology. Okay, now animals basically have 4 kinds of tissues. Okay, they have their own subsections, but the 4 main sections are epithelial tissue, which works for protection, absorption, secretion, sensory, etc. There is connective tissues. They are for support. Okay, they are for binding of organs. Connection, connective tissue, connecting. They are for binding organs, transport of substances, and immunity. Muscular tissue, whenever we talk about muscles, okay, mostly it is for movement and locomotion. And then nervous tissue. Nervous tissue, we know the nervous impulses, etc. Okay, that is done by the nervous tissue. The coordination of body functions, etc. are handled by the nervous tissue. Today, we are discussing about epithelial tissue, okay, and connective tissue. Okay, so today we'll be discussing only epithelial and connective. Next class, we'll be discussing about muscle tissue and nervous tissue. Okay, so let's start with epithelial tissue. This is one of the most basic kind of tissue. Okay, it covers the outer surface of our organs. Our skin, okay, our skin is mostly made up of epithelial cells or epithelial tissue. Okay, so it covers the outer surface of all organs of our body, also lines of cavities in the hollow organs of our body. So it's basically for the covering mechanism. Okay, and cells are arranged in 1 or more layers. It can be 1 layer also. See, this is a 1 layer cell. Okay, this is cuboidal in nature. Okay, and there can be another layer also to this. Okay, so can be 1 or more layer. Okay, cells are compactly arranged and there is no or very little intercellular matrix. Okay, see here, you can see there is no space. Basically, there is no space. When we look at our skin, are there any spaces? Are there any holes? No, right? So they are just closely compact with each other. Okay, and cells of the lowermost layer rest on thin double-layered non-cellular, non-living basement area called the basal lamina here. Okay, this is the basal lamina. The cells just rest on it. Okay, the cells together forming tissues just rest on it, this gray area. Okay, cells are non-vascular, okay, or avascular, as in they lack their own blood supply. Okay, These cells get their nutrition from blood capillaries present under them. Okay, so they have blood capillaries running under them. From there only they get their nutrition. They don't have, you can see here, they don't have any capillaries or anything running. Okay, they don't have their own blood supply. Own blood supply is not present. Okay, so they have blood capillaries under them, okay, under the basal lamina. From there they get the nutrition, and they have the power of division and regeneration. Okay, we have seen skin, when skin dries off or dead skin, we try to take it off, especially in the rough areas where we walk and all, it dries away and all, when your skin feels very dry. Okay, so that is because it has a power of division and regeneration. Okay, so the old skin slows away, sloughed off. Okay, there is the formation of the new skin. Even in your lips, you can feel the cell tissue going off, the layer going off, right? And then you put some balm or something and it comes up and all. Okay, so this happens when it's dry. Okay, it's dead, it goes off, and there is a regeneration of cells, there regeneration of skin over there. Okay, that is because there is epithelial tissue present on these organs. Okay, again, if you have any doubts, just let me know. Okay, just a second. Okay, now epithelial tissues are of two kinds. There is some simple tissue having similar kind of cells, etc., and compound. Okay, they have different kinds of cells. So simple actually can be divided into a lot of different types. Okay, there is simple squamous. Okay, there is simple cuboidal. Okay, there is simple columnar. There is ciliated columnar. Okay, there is glandular. Okay, so simple tissues are mostly, like in our body, mostly we have a lot of simple tissues also. There's also compound tissues. Okay, but mostly we are concentrating today on the simple tissues. So let's see. Simple squamous. Okay, this is the most like simplest kind of epithelium cell tissues you can find. Okay, so it is found in the peritoneum of coelom and endothelium. That is the lining of the blood vessels. These are on the lining of the blood vessels, and it is also found on the surface of the skin. Okay, lining of the blood vessels and surface of the skin. This is where it is found. How are the structures? You can see they are polygonal in shape, thin, delicate, and flat. They are very flat. Okay, here just to show, we have put like it's a bit like there's a layer kind of, fat layer kind of, no, but this is just imaginary. It is just a flat kind of structure like this. It will be, okay, like this. It will be in a nucleus. Okay, so they're just flat. Okay, the nucleus is centrally placed. They appear like flat tiles when viewed from the top. So they are called pavement epithelium. As I said, they are just flat. They're like, if you look at tiles, it's just flat, like there's no thin layer, thick layer over it. So it's just looks like tiles, and the nucleus is just placed in the middle. Okay, and filtration and diffusion functions as filtration and diffusion of material, protection of skin from microbes and foreign particles. It is there on the skin. Okay, so it protects also, and it helps in the filtration and diffusion of material. Why? Because it is there around the blood vessels, right? So it will have a function of filtration and diffusion of materials. Next is the simple cuboidal. Now, simple cuboidal, how you can see the difference, okay? Here in squamous, it is just a flat layer. Here, it is cubic, okay? What is a cube? Cubes are like structures like this. So, this is how it looks. See, cube-like structure, and they have nucleus also. So, it is generally found in the thyroid gland and the kidneys. These are present in the thyroid, glands, and kidneys. Okay, cells are cube shaped. Obviously, they are named like that. Okay, with centrally placed round or spherical nucleus. Just in the middle, they'll have their nucleus. They are cells, right? Okay, together cells coming together forming tissue. So they are cells. They definitely have nucleus. Okay, apart from blood, they have nucleus. They play an important role in absorption and secretion. Why secretion? See, whenever we talk about gland, okay, there are cells which are specific for gland also, epithelial cells specific for glands also, but there is cuboidal epithelium also, which works in the glands, okay. And whenever we talk about glands, we have to talk about glands. The function of gland is what? Secretion, okay. So cuboidal epithelium helps in the secretion, okay. Simple columnar, as the name suggests. See, the thing is, it's very easy to remember. Okay, so squamous was just a layer. Cuboidal will be cubes. Columnar, whenever you talk about columnar, you can see something like this, column Y. Okay, and they'll have nucleus. So it makes the inner lining of stomach, intestine, and the internal organs. So it is covering mostly covering the inner layer of stomach, intestine, and other internal organs. This is mostly present inside our body. Cells are tall. See how tall it is. So they are tall in nature. Okay, pillar-like with anterior free end that is broader than the posterior narrow end. So the anterior end is narrow and the posterior is a bit broad. See, anterior will be narrow and the posterior will be broad. The nucleus is oval or elliptical and placed near the basal end. So it is near here at the end. Okay, on the base, this is the base. Okay, and at the end, it will be here. So basically, it will look somewhat like this. Okay, and they are found in lining of stomach and intestine and help in secretion and absorption. Since they are in the stomach and intestine, there's secretion of juices and acids, etc. There is a secretion function because that is what stomach's work is, right? It'll digest food, it'll give out the things. Okay, there is a transfer, okay, taking and giving up of juices, etc. So since it is in the lining of the stomach and intestine, it helps in the secretion and absorption. Okay, so if you have any doubts, please, again, I'm just saying, just let me know and I'll be helping you out. Okay, ciliated columnar. So these are columnar only. So they have a height. Ciliated columnar. Why columnar? They are tall. Okay, and they have cilia. See. Okay, these outgrowths you can see like this, like this. Why? We have read about cilia whenever, even if we have not discussed for NEET right now, but in the previous standards, 8th and 9th and everything, you have learned about microbes or cells having cilia. Okay, so these outward growths, cilia, are the outgrowths. Okay, string like outgrowths there is. So these are the cilia, and they can be used for various functions. Okay, microbes use for something, our cells might use for something. So these are the that is why, because there is cilia over here, that's why it is ciliated columnar. And columnar means it will be tall in nature. Okay, so it is found in the upper respiratory tract, fallopian tube of the vertebrates. Okay, fallopian tube, as in the females might have it. Okay, and the upper respiratory tract, our upper respiratory tract might have it. Cells are tall, okay, pillar-like, with anterior free end that is broader than the posterior narrow end. Here it is just the opposite. Here the upper portion might be a bit broader than the lower portion, okay, resting on the basement membrane. So there will be a basement membrane. Okay, so basement or basal membrane. Okay, the anterior free end shows presence of large number of protoplasmic extension called cilia. See, these are the cilia that is present above. So they'll have cilia, which are rising from the basal granules. Nucleus is oval and placed at the basal end. So it might be at the end, basal end. Okay, since cilia are capable of vibratory movement, they are able to remove foreign particles from the surface. Cilia help in the movement of non-motile ovum. See, so it is in the respiratory tract. Okay, we might ingest something which might be foreign particle, which the body does not agree with. Okay, so that is what the cilia is doing. It has a vibratory motion. It moves. Okay, so it helps in the eradication of those foreign particles. The respiratory, we are in like respiring, taking some gases, etc. Everything, a lot of cells, a lot of foreign particles also we are taking in. Okay, so it is the job of these cells which try to take out the foreign particles away. That is for the respiratory tract. When it comes to the fallopian tube, okay, there might be non-motile ovum. Okay, so this cells, because it has cilia, this might be helping in the movement of the non-motile ovum. Okay, we know in our reproductive tract, what happens? The ovary gives up an ovum, it has to travel through the fallopian tube, okay, meet the sperm somewhere. Suppose the ovum is non-motile, okay, it's not moving properly. The cilia or the ciliated columnar epithelial, it tries to push it towards the sperms. Okay, so it has those kinds of functions. Okay. Okay, let's see. There's someone here. Hi, Ayush. Okay, it's okay, no problem. You can always, these videos are always recorded. Okay, you can find it in the channel. Okay, and my name is Shabnam. Okay, so now we have discussed what and all we have discussed. We have discussed about simple squamous, simple cuboidal, simple columnar. We have discussed also about ciliated columnar. Now we'll discuss about the simple glandular. And whenever you talk about glandular, okay, there's the word gland. Okay, when we talk to our parents, when we talk to our doctors, okay, you must have heard this word glands. Okay, so these glands are structures in our body which secretes something. Okay, it might be sweat glands, they secrete sweat. They have sebum glands which secrete sebum, some oily kind of this thing, material on our body, okay, mostly on our skin. Okay, then there are glands which secretes our hormones. Okay, so the purpose of gland is secretion. Okay, and these cells, okay, which forms the tissues, so these are the tissues. Simple glandular epithelium are the tissues which are present in the glands, which make up the glands. So these are specialized epithelial cells capable of synthesizing substances such as enzymes, hormones, sweat, oil, etc. Okay, so they are synthesizing substances as in secreting substances, okay, which gives up enzymes, hormones, sweat, oil. Okay, these secretions are carried in ducts on the surface onto the blood. So glands might be duct, they'll be secreting through a duct, okay, that is what to say, indirect, or it might be ductless, or they'll be just putting out in the blood only. So that is ductless. So there might be a duct, okay, or they might be ductless as well, as in secreting directly into the blood. Okay, the structure formed by these specialized epithelial cells are known as glands, just now I said. So together they form the glands. Okay, and there are mainly two types of glands. There is unicellular, consisting of isolated glandular cells, okay, isolated cells, okay, and multicellular, consisting of cluster of cells. Okay, see, there is unicellular gland, okay, see here, unicellular, and there is cluster of cells, that is multicellular. And again, mainly on the this thing, glands are also further classified into endocrine, okay, and exocrine. Now, why endocrine and exocrine? That is because how it secretes, okay, further classified, okay, with respect to how it secretes. Okay, so exocrine glands, okay, they pour directly into the blood, so they are ductless. Okay, directly, they don't have lines or anything, which capillaries or anything. Okay, they don't have ducts through which they secrete something, so they're ductless. They just directly flush it out on the blood. Okay, such glands lack ducts and thus are called ductless glands, just now I said. For example, pituitary, thyroid, okay, parathyroid, ovary, testis, adrenal, okay, islets of Langerhans, these are all kinds of glands. Pituitary gland, thyroid gland, okay, these are all pituitary gland, thyroid gland, parathyroid gland, okay, ovary, testis, adrenal glands, okay, these are all secreting something, hormones, okay, other kinds of fluids, etc. And there is exocrine glands. These are with ducts. They are not directly flushing it out into the blood. Okay, they have a way through which this thing goes. The whatever they are secreting, they go through a way. Okay, their secretion is carried by means of duct or tube into the site of action. So they are duct. Okay, and they are responsible for body secretions such as tears. Okay, tears come through ducts. Okay, tear duct you might have heard. So it comes through ducts. Okay, tear glands. Salivary glands also have ducts. Gastric and intestinal glands, they all have ducts. Okay, so ductless and ducts. We'll actually, when we go to the other parts of the body, when we talk more about physiology, human physiology, etc., we'll talk more about hormones. Okay, hormones and etc. A lot of things we'll be learning, and this is just telling what glands are made up of. And further, when we go more into human physiology and all, that time we'll be discussing more about these things. Okay. Okay. Sorry, Ayush, this is actually 11. This is a class for bio, but you can follow it. It's not a problem at all. And thyroid is a kind of a gland. Okay, thyroid gland. We are talking here about kinds of glands. So pituitary gland, thyroid gland, they all give out some kind of fluid, okay, it can be hormone, it can be a lot of things. Glands can be secreting something. So thyroid is a kind of gland which is present here in our neck. Okay. Now, compound epithelium. Till now we were discussing about simple epithelium. Now, compound epithelium. Compound epithelium is made up of one or more layer of multi-layered cells. Okay, and thus has a limited role in secretion and absorption. Since they are multi-layered, okay, it is difficult to secrete something and absorb something, okay, because they are multi-layered. Okay, there are lots of layers, so it is difficult to absorb or secrete. Their main function is to provide protection against chemical and mechanical stress. So the main function is protection, nothing else. There is no secretion or absorption with the help of these tissues. This just provides protection. They cover the dry surface of the skin, okay, the moist surface of buccal cavity, pharynx, inner lining of ducts, salivary glands, pancreatic duct. Basically, these areas, they are providing protection against stress. Can be mechanical, can be chemical, any kind of stress. These areas, they're just providing support. That's all. No other functions such as secretion and all does not work with compound epithelium. Okay. Now, connective tissue. Till now, we were discussing about the epithelial tissue. Now, we'll be discussing about the connective tissue. See, whenever we talk about connective tissue, connective, okay, word itself is coming from connection. Okay, it is connecting something. Okay, it might be connecting some organs, it might be connecting something to the other. Okay, so whenever we talk about connective, you have to think about the word connection. Okay, so now, what are the origin? Okay, it arises from mesoderm of the embryo, and it is the most abundant type of tissue. We know when we are in the embryonic age, we have 3 layers. Okay, epiderm, endoderm, mesoderm. The middle layer is mesoderm, and that is from where the connective tissue comes. Okay, so this is the middle layer. Okay, the connective tissues consist of various shaped cells lying wide apart in a large amount of non-living intercellular or extracellular matrix. So what happens? Okay, they have a lot of cells. Okay, and it's a huge area they cover. Connective tissue, they cover a huge area. Okay, and they have cells lying wide apart. There in the epithelial cells, we saw cells which were like not like they were closely packed with each other. Here they are lying wide apart on something called the matrix. Okay, so this matrix is actually a ground substance. It's kind of a substance. It's a sticky white substance. Okay, usually secreted by connective tissue cells themselves. So it'll be like a matrix and they'll have cells, okay, and they'll be connected somehow. Okay, so that is why it is so huge, because it is not together connected together like densely packed. They are around, spreaded around, okay, and somehow they connect with each other. Okay, now this ground substance, which is the matrix, permits diffusion of food materials, water, gases, wastes to and from the cells. So the matrix actually permits the food materials, diffusion of food materials and organs, okay, water, gases, the diffusion of these kind of things, diffusion of the fluids, okay, they permit that. Thus, connective tissue usually comprises of 2 components, matrix and cells. There in the epithelium cells, we only had the cells, okay, we did not have a lot of matrix or anything because there was no area, okay, they were so closely packed, there was no area for it to float around or anything. Here, the connective tissue is made up of matrix and cells. Okay, almost all connective tissues are highly vascular in nature. There it was secretion and absorption. Here it is vascular, as in transfer of materials. Okay, and all connective tissues except bloods secrete structural proteins called collagen or elastin. They have fibers. Okay, they produce fibers which are in the form of collagen or elastin. Okay. Okay. Now this is the connective tissue. Okay. Now connective tissue are actually three kinds. There's proper connective tissue, supportive connective tissue, and fluid connective tissue. Now the proper connective tissue can be again divided into two parts. There is loose connective tissue and dense connective tissue. Supportive has bone and cartilage. Fluid is blood. Okay. Loose again has areolar tissue, adipose tissue, and dense has regular and irregular. Okay. So this is how you divide the different kinds of connective tissue, and it is huge. As I said, it like takes a lot of area and everything. So it is huge in nature, and there are quite a lot of different kinds. Okay. Cartilage again can be divided. See, bone, cartilage, blood. We'll be discussing about this in the later parts of the syllabus also. Okay. So now we'll just discuss a little bit about the tissue. Okay. In the later part, we'll be discussing about it more. What are the different kinds of bones? What are the different kinds of cartilage? What are the different kinds of bloods, etc. That we'll be discussing later in the syllabus. Right now, we are just talking in the tissue point of view. Okay. Now, areolar connective tissue, this is loose. Okay, this is loose connective tissue. Okay, and it is found below the skin, muscles, and bones. It is below the skin, muscles, and bones. Okay, they have a lot of cells here in the areolar connective tissue. You can find macrophage, fibroblast, collagen fibers, mast cells, different kind of cells you can find in this kind of connective tissue. And also called loose connective tissue, as I said, is essentially connective in function. They connect. Okay, it fixes the skin with the muscles, attaches the blood vessels and nerves with the surrounding tissues. So what it does, it connects the various parts of our body. Okay, so skin and muscles, okay, are connected via areolar connective tissue. Okay, and what it also does, fastens the peritoneum to the body wall and viscera and keeps the muscle fibers together. Peritoneum is a sterile kind of a membrane, okay, which is there outside the stomach, the abdominal cavity. Okay, so it is kind of a membrane, sterile membrane out of the abdominal cavity. Okay, and it connects it to the body wall and viscera and keeps the muscle fibers also. They keep it together with the help of areolar connective tissue. Okay, and it contains fibroblasts, cells that produce and secrete fibers, macrophages, and mast cells. See, as I said, macrophage, fibroblast, collagen fibers, mast cells. So they have different kind of cells. Okay, a lot of different kind of cells are found here. Okay. Okay, Ayush, I'm from Chennai basically. I'm glad you're joining from UP. Okay. Now, adipose connective tissue. Now, adipose connective tissue is adipose. Whenever you hear the word adipose, it means something related to fat. Always remember this, okay? Whenever you hear adipose, okay, adipocyte, adipose cells, etc., almost always it is related to fat. So what is adipose connective tissue? It's found in the subcutaneous tissue, that is under the skin, and in the covering of the heart and around the blood vessel, kidneys, etc. So it is those kidneys which is actually covering up a lot of things. Okay, it is there under our skin. It is covering the heart and the blood vessels and the kidneys, etc. They are trying to cover it. And the adipose tissue's primary objective is food reserve. Okay, and it has fat. As I said, adipose will always have fat. Okay, and it prevents heat loss from the body, particularly in polar animals. Okay, polar animals like bears and penguins, etc. They have these kind of tissues. Okay, because of these tissues, the heat is contained in the body. Okay, apart, if it wouldn't have been that, polar areas are so cold. Okay, they would have died, they would have gotten frozen. But because they have these kind of tissues, they are protected against that kind of cold temperature. Okay, and also rounds off the body contour. Okay, so the body shape is also maintained with the help of the adipose connective tissue. It forms a shock absorbing cushion around kidneys and the eyeballs. So we have around the eyeballs also, we have some adipose connective tissue because it is basically fat, right? So it is kind of an insulation. Okay, it is kind of an insulation which is providing, which does not let the heat out. Okay, which does not get shocks and all. Okay, so that is why, like, fat is a kind of insulation, we know that. Okay, now insulation provides what? Insulation provides so that there's no shock, there's no heat going out, etc. That kind of function is done by the adipose connective tissue, and it also produces blood corpuscles. Okay, so apart from the heat loss, heat preserve, and the shock preserve and all, okay, it also produces blood corpuscles. It is found in association with the areolar connective tissue. So it is a modified areolar connective tissue consisting of adipocytes, okay, cells specialized of fat storage. So what he saw, it is a modified connective tissue. Okay, so modified areolar connective tissue, and because it has adipocytes or adipose cells, okay, so that is why it is called adipose connective tissue. Okay, yes Ayush, I know Hindi also, मुझे हिंदी भी बोलना आता है. So if you want me to let something know in Hindi, okay, I can do that as well. मुझे हिंदी बोलना आता है, तो मेरे को कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं होगा हिंदी में थोड़ा सा बात करने में, ठीक है? Okay, so dense regular tissue. Not till now we were reading about loose connective tissue. Now we are talking about dense tissue. So why dense? Okay, because in these dense regular connective tissues, collagen fibers are present in rows between many parallel fibers. So they are all connected. There's not a lot of space here. Okay, in this kind of connective tissue, it is kind of dense, it's packed. So that's why dense. Okay, so there is regular tissue. Okay, the collagen fibers are present in rows between many parallel bundles of fibers. Okay, tendons, which attach the skeletal muscles to bones, and ligaments, which attach to bone to one another, are examples of this tissue. So the dense regular tissue, they connect each other. Okay, they connect with the muscle to the bone or the bone to bone. Okay, this is how they connect. Okay, and then there is dense irregular tissue. Okay, which has fibroblasts and many fibers that are oriented differently. Okay, they are all spreaded out. Okay, there is a lot of irregularity. It's not like in a parallel. Why irregular? Because it is parallel in nature. Okay, parallel in nature. Okay, so they go parallelly. These are all spreaded out. Okay, so they are kind of haphazard here, there. That is why it is irregular in nature. Okay, now the next is C. again, I'm saying cartilage, bone, and blood. Okay, we'll be discussing more about this in the coming days as well. As we go deep inside the physiology, okay, of humans and all, we'll be discussing more about this. So, this cartilage, bone, and blood, this is just tissue point of view. Okay, so what is cartilage? We know cartilage we have in the soft kind of bone, we have in the nose, in the ears, we have some soft kind of tissues, okay, which is very easy to move. See, this is my nose, it's very easy to use. Okay, is it easy to move? Okay, so those are called cartilage. So it is a solid, semi-rigid connective tissue. I just said it's soft, it's movable, so it's not rigid. It is tough, flexible tissue which forms the endoskeleton in large number of vertebrae. So endoskeleton is formed with the help of cartilage. Okay, cells of these tissue are known as chondrocytes, and they have a covering called perichondrium. Okay, that is the cover. Okay, and are enclosed in small cavities within the matrix secreted by them. So there's a lot of matrix here. You can see the pink is all matrix. Okay, and these cells with nucleuses, they are known as chondrocytes. The outer covering is known as perichondrium. Okay, most of the cartilages in vertebrate embryos are replaced by the bones in adults. So in embryos, in vertebrates, there are embryos, okay, when the zygote forms, ovum and sperm, they meet, they form zygote, and the zygote grows little by little, cell by cell, it grows and forms the embryo. Okay, so the embryos, they have cartilages. Okay, until they are not born, they are embryos and they have cartilages. After they are born and they start growing, these cartilages become bones in adults. Okay, they are soft in nature when they are still not born. That time they are soft in nature. When they go off, okay, when they are born and they start growing and everything, okay, that time it becomes adults, bones. So the cartilage is present in the tip of nose. Just now I saw the tip of nose, outer ear joints, between adjacent bones of the vertebral column, limbs, hands in adults. Okay, we have cartilage. A lot of cartilage tissue is there around our body in the animals. Okay, vertebrates basically, they have a lot of cartilage tissue around the body. Okay. Okay, so bones. Okay, now bones are harder. These are harder than cartilage. Okay, and non-pliable ground substance rich in calcium salts, collagen fibers, which give the bones its strength. So they have calcium and collagen. Both of them are very strong in nature. So that is why bones are very strong. Okay, the main tissue that provides structural frame to the body. The adipocyte cells, okay, there in the adipocyte cells tissues, we found that they give the structure, but the proper structure has been given by the skeletal organ, the skeletal system in our body. That skeletal system is made up of the bones. So it is the bones which give us the proper structure. Okay, and bones support and protect softer tissues and organs, and the bone cells are present in spaces called lacunae. Okay, so there is lacunae, that space where it is present is called the lacunae, and it protects the softer tissues, our rib cage. Okay, we have a rib cage in our chest that is protecting our heart and our lungs. Okay, so that is how, that is very soft, those are very soft tissues and organs, right? So it is the rib cage's job. Okay, now rib cage is made up of bones, so it is their job to protect our heart and our lungs. Okay, limb bones such as the long bones of our legs serve weight bearing functions. We have the legs. Okay, the legs are made up of different kinds of bones, bones of different shape and structure. Okay, so they carry the weight of our body. They also interact with skeletal muscles attached to them to bring about movements whenever we are moving our body. So it is a dual function. It is worked by the muscles also. It is worked by the bones also. So whenever we are moving, it is the bones and the muscles which are working in our movement. So that is done with the bones and the muscles. The bone marrow in some bones is the site of production of blood cells. Okay, so suppose this is a bone. Okay, so we have bone marrow here in the middle. Okay, there's a section called bone marrow. So this is where the blood cells are formed. Okay. Now, last thing is blood. Okay. Blood is, we all know what blood is. Okay. We have seen blood. Most of us have got cuts and scratches, and there is a red kind of fluid which comes out. That is the blood. Okay. Blood is a fluid connective tissue containing plasma, red blood cells, white blood cells, and platelets. So they have RBCs, platelets, okay, and plasma. Plasma is like a yellow colored fluid, okay. RBCs, platelets, white blood cells, and plasma. Here, plasma. Oh, when it comes out is kind of whitish, yellowish kind of a fluid. And it is the main circulating fluid that helps in the transport of various substances. It is the blood which provides nutrition, which carries the hormones. Okay, blood has a lot of functions. It is one of the main circulating fluid. It is circulating the food, it is circulating the gases, circulating the fluids like hormones, etc. So it is one of the main connective tissues in our body. Okay, so today we discussed the connective tissue and the epithelial tissue. Next, we'll be discussing about the muscular tissue and the nervous tissue, which will be the next class. Okay. Hi, Shrabon. Okay. Oh, you live in Dhaka. That is very nice. Okay, we have people from Bangladesh as well. That's actually great. Okay, so after this, I hope you followed the class. If you haven't, you can actually go back and see the video again. And if you have any doubts, you can ask. Okay, so now is the quiz. Okay, just 2-3 questions we have. You can answer. Okay. Now, mast cells are linked to what kind of tissues? Okay, just now we were discussing about connective tissue and epithelial tissue. There are some tissues which are linked to the mast cells. Now, what is it? Can anybody answer? Okay, so the mast cell is connected to the areolar connective tissue here. Let's show. See, in the areolar connective tissue, we have the mast cells. Okay, in no other connective tissue can you find mast cells. Mast cells are properly connected to the areolar connective tissue. Okay. Categorization of epithelial tissue is based on what? Okay, we divide epithelial tissue on the base of what? Okay, there is cuboidal. Okay, just a hint I'm giving, there is cuboidal. Okay, there is squamous. Okay, there is columnar. Okay, some kind of different kind of shapes. We divide it in different kind of shapes. Can anyone answer? Okay, we divide it in the basis of structure. Okay, why? Because just now I said some are cuboidal, okay, some are columnar, etc. Okay, so it is divided in the basis of shape and structure. Okay, the membrane covering cartilage, just now I said membrane covering cartilage. Okay, cartilage has cells called chondrocytes. So it has a covering which is the perichondrium. Perichondrium it has. Okay, somewhat like this. This outer covering is known as perichondrium. Okay. Okay, everyone. Thank you for coming and joining our class. I hope you can join me again. Okay. So today is Friday. Again, Monday we'll have a class and we'll discuss more about the different kinds of tissues. After that, we'll be discussing about the anatomy of earthworms and cockroach and frogs. Okay, so there's a lot of more exciting classes coming up. So don't forget to like, share and subscribe to our video. Okay, have a good night, everyone. Bye-bye.